So all these things that are doing it under the guise of honor, the honor of the office, really are just looking for the power and authority. And it's even happened in churches where the people in pastoral positions that have done it under the guise of being honor really are trying to get to that place to have some power and authority. Maybe they haven't had power and authority in their own life. So, and I'm not saying they're not called by God, but in that brokenness in their own life, they struggle to do it honorably because they're seeking after something, a broken method, a broken concept of what that place is. Like the moment you get that title, you instantly are worthy or deserving of honor. This is the problem with most people who have titles of what should be honorable positions. There's an assumption there that the moment they step into that place, you are required to give them honor. Now, let me say this real quick. You are required to give them honor, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Not because of the title that they have, not because of the job they're doing or not doing. And that's where generally they require honor regardless of the job they're doing. Many are doing it dishonorably and still requesting honor, still desiring that you honor them in that place. It's completely separate from what they do, which only allows them to do what they want to do and then expect something different. First thing I'll say to you is if you are in a place of honor, if you're in a position or you have a title of something that in your eyes requires honor, it falls on you to act honorably. Yeah, people don't have to give you honor. Most people won't unless you deserve it. But what if you begin to act honorably in all things that you do? Now you put the ball in their court to honor you because you deserve it. And those who dishonor you, I look at the scripture in First Peter 3, I think 17, and it says, those who revel in your good behavior will be rewarded. So when you act honorably and you do things with the right heart, you don't have to worry about whether they give you honor or not. That's not what you're doing it for. You're seen in heaven. And those who revel or those who come against that good behavior when you're doing it for the right reasons, they'll be taken care of. It's out of your hands at that point because you're not doing what you're doing as a response to them. You're doing because you know that's what you're supposed to do. What if everybody in office, everybody who had a title or position in your job, maybe your boss, your pastor, your president, all of these people who had a title said you woke up today and said, you know what, from here on out, regardless of what I've done in the past, I am going to begin to walk honorably, which means I may have to own up for some of the things I've done wrong. Ooh, that's a tough one, right? Especially if you're one of those leaders in those businesses places and you've done some things dishonorably. Well, if I own up to that, then the whole sweater unravels. So then we continue living a lie because we can't own up to our own mistakes. And most people who are struggling in that space right now, it just piles up and continues. It only gets worse and worse because when you just pile it on top, eventually it will come through. If you remember, there's an Edgar Allan Poe story. I'm blank on the name of this right now. The Telltale Heart, where he has buried a body, and I'm not talking about physically burying. So I hope nobody on here I'm talking to, but in this poem, he's killed somebody and he's physically buried them in his house, and no one can see them. But in his mind, he begins to hear this dead body talking to him and saying he's going to out him, and he eventually outs himself and tells somebody what's happened in the house because it's inside of him that's bubbling and push them into place. Your dishonorable methods have pushed you to a place where you will reveal yourself. But what if he when it happened, it begin to share? Here's how it happened. All those things, and I'm saying like the bodies you have mostly are things that you've done against somebody, like wounded somebody, hurt somebody with your words, and then you just move forward. Well, that's not me. It was an emotional response. I just move forward, and you don't even repair that place with them. So, honor comes out of a place of restoration. You have to begin to restore the dishonorable things in your life. First, as a Christian, again, I'm a pastor. You got to release those to the only one who can restore you in your honor, and that's God. And that's why Jesus came, was to take the dishonorable and help us walk into honor, to be relieved of our past indiscretions. Because people are people. They may never forgive you, but going to them and asking forgiveness is huge. It releases you from that place of dishonor. It's saying that's who I'm always going to be. Whether they receive it or not is on you. That is up to them, and it's based off their emotions and how bad you hurt them. But that moment sets a new standard for you that this is not who I am anymore. And I'm sorry that I did that to you, and you may never give that to me. And that's not why I'm asking for forgiveness, not why I'm apologizing to you. It's to move forward for myself and do anything I can to walk away from this, knowing full well that there are still repercussions for my actions. But it requires each of us to begin to walk in a manner worthy of this position and the title and the calling that we have on our life. That's on us. We have to look at that in the mirror every day, and regardless of the dishonorable people before us that have held that position and title, regardless of how we've been taught to walk in that, regardless of how we even got to there, today, I'm going to make that commitment that I'm going to walk honorably. And it's not always going to be easy. People who know where I came from may not give me honor because of what they've seen. Even Jesus couldn't find honor in his own hometown. Why? Because they knew Jesus as a little boy. We don't know what he did in his younger days, but they said, how can this dude be the Messiah? I've known Jesus since he was a little boy. That's not the way the Messiah would have acted. I had to clean his poopy diapers. I remember when he was picking on the little girls in school. All the little things. You all have a history and background. I'm talking very menial things, but we all have a history and background of things that we did growing up. And those people may never give you honor. Is that going to determine who you are? Because they don't give you honor, are you going to continually try to get it from them and try to do things that, no, you just have to walk in an honorable posture. So I think the first thing I want to say is honorably, if you're in a position that we look back, take yourself out of the equation, zoom to 100-foot level and look down. And if you're in a title or position where honor should be given, then you are required to act honorably, whatever that takes to get restoration in that, to begin to walk that out, just to do it without any expectation of any return, just to restore honor to that place, to be different. Now, the second part I talked about earlier is about honor being required even when you're not deserving of it. This is a biblical concept that I think we fail to see because we love to be offended by people who are acting dishonorably. We love to be validated in our dishonorable assessment of somebody. That person's not worthy of honor. I wouldn't give that person honor if they asked me, if somebody said I had to. I wouldn't kiss the ring of that. You know what I'm talking about. Whether it was the last president and you just hated because of the way he did business, if that's you and he operated in a dishonorable heart and towards and aimed it at people, and I'm not honoring that person. Guess what? If you're a Christian, you're not doing what the Bible tells you to say. Or maybe you're not a fan of the current president. He's not done enough, and he's just whatever it is in your mind. He's not following up with this, and as a Christian believer, and he's not addressing these things that come against what I believe. And you know what? That's not honorable. So I just can't give honor to that man. Guess what? You're just as wrong as the other person.